Hey there and welcome to episode number 19 of I'm Just Gonna Say It. I'm Aron, still your friendly internet renegade, and today I'm gonna talk a little bit about something pertaining to my last video about seeing and how that works, and observing how that works, how light reflects off objects and how you pick that up. So that seems to be, or seems to form a paradox between the fact that the double slit experiments seem to say that observing dictates what state an object is in. There's a time discrepancy there between the fact that the light has to reflect off the object before you see it, but the object isn't determined what it is until it is observed. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. That was a long introduction, but anyway, here we go for episode number 19. As you can see and hear in the background, there's a nice little storm going on here in the Dutch skies, and that was a perfect opportunity to do an electrical subject like this, because stuff like this really speaks to the imagination. As I was saying, there is an obvious time paradox between light first hitting an object and then reflecting off to your eyes, and at the same time supposedly the state of an object being determined by you observing it. Now, let's first start with the scientific explanation. The way most people in quantum physics look at this is that the observer doesn't necessarily have to be conscious to collapse the wave function, as they say, the wave function psi. But I kind of disagree with this, but more on that later. So what does regular quantum physics say here? The act of observing is, in a way, is measuring, and when you measure something, something has to have a value, an eigenvalue in this case, but that's making it too complicated for now. So when you measure, you give it a value by measuring it, and you therefore make the other possible states of what you're measuring not manifest, so to speak. And seeing, in the end, of course, is measuring. So. And what about the time discrepancy here? Well, first of all, light travels incredibly fast at the speed of light, after all, which already makes it a very, very tiny discrepancy. Second, mind also comes into play here, and that's the next thing I want to say, and that's also what kind of disproves, in my opinion, that consciousness isn't necessary. I'm not totally sure whether it's necessary or not, but it has been proven that consciousness, without actually observing it with your eyes, can collapse psi, the wave function. Dean Radin in a study proved this, where I've talked about this before, where he did a double slit experiment and asked people to add a distance view with their mind's eye through what slit the particle went through, or actually willing it through one or the other slit. And they managed to do that significantly more often than they didn't. So he proved that it's possible to do that. A kind of mind over matter thing going on there. Sorry for my light switching on and off, by the way. I'm outside in my garden, and that thing is popping up a bit. But it gives for a spooky effect, with lightning in the background and all. So, to summarize this all, the seeming paradox between observing and the observer effect in quantum physics. According to science, observing is measuring, and therefore you are collapsing it per definition, and it kind of avoids the whole subject by saying so, but that's another thing. Is consciousness necessary to do so? I'm not sure. I was actually talking about this with a friend of mine who's a physics professor, asking him whether a double slit experiment had ever been done while measuring what slit the particle goes through, but while consciously not looking at the results of that. I would be very interested to see if that would still collapse the wave function or not. So, if you happen to know about a study that actually tried that, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you have a suggestion for a video or a comment or whatever, let me know. So, until the next time, the Black Goo video is still on its way, but as we are in the process of making it, we keep finding out more and more stuff, and we want to make it complete. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Until the next one, bye bye.